Are you a new mother struggling with fatigue, stress, and feelings of overwhelm? Do you feel like you can never catch up on sleep, let alone take care of your own health and well-being? If so, you're not alone. Postnatal depletion affects countless mothers worldwide, but there is hope. Today we're joined by an expert in helping exhausted mothers conquer fatigue and improve their overall well-being. In this episode, we'll explore the link between baby colic, gut health, and mental health, and share practical tips and strategies for combating postnatal depletion and reclaiming your life. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from one of the best in the business. Our guest today is Christiane Panesar. Christiane specializes in helping exhausted mothers conquer fatigue while helping their babies sleep so that they can ditch the postnatal depletion and become the mother, the businesswoman, and the lover they know they can be. Christiane, that's a lot of information there. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and a little bit of what you do?
Definitely. First of all, thanks for having me, Tonya. And how I came to this topic was really through my own story and my own children. After I overcame my own health challenges, I founded Heart Food Holistic because I wanted to help others. But when I became a mother for the first time, I hit like a totally new wall of difficulties that I didn't expect. While I really, and you might know what I'm talking about, while I really tried to prepare myself for pregnancy, healthy childbirth, and postpartum, I had like no idea really what postpartum meant because nobody really shared with me about their difficulties in postpartum before. So I really just expected I'd be back up on my feet after a few days. But what I didn't know was that I would encounter this extreme sleep deprivation. You might be able to relate, like I was sleeping on average about 3 hours at night. And the problem was that baby would just not sleep. Like she was up till almost 4 or 5 a.m. every day. And we went through like a typical case of what people would call baby colic. And then the thing was when she finally slept, then I couldn't sleep anymore because I was just in this extreme hypervigilance where I could not shut down anymore. I was so worked up. I was so worried about her. And I really felt like I was going insane at that time and felt really ashamed that I was going through this and that I couldn't handle things better. And I had just like the wrong expectations of everything as well. And I just didn't know what was going on with me, what I was doing wrong, why she wasn't sleeping. And I also didn't expect this kind of change in me, like from feeling like really capable to all of a sudden not being able to do like a healthy snack for myself anymore. And the weird thing was that I could take care of baby without a problem, but I could just not take care of myself anymore. I had like no sense of self-care, anything like that. And I didn't know why I was feeling so depleted, although I ate what was generally deemed as healthy. And I was already a nutritional consultant at that time, but not even nutrition school taught me how to help my baby and myself. So then the day my midwife popped by to see how I was doing, I could see on her face how I was doing, reflected back. Like she was just so shocked to see this transformation in me. And she uttered the words postpartum depression. And it really shocked me in a good way because I was like, oh my God, like this is what might be going on with me. I'm not crazy. There's actually some explanation for what I'm going through. And I think this is really important for moms to hear because so many moms are being sent home by the doctor with just anxiety pills and reflex meds for baby and the recommendation to just wait it out. And that really ignited a spark in me when I heard that possible diagnosis of depression. And I went through like a few low points when I really realized how bad things were. Like one time, which I share a lot with my moms, is where I was breaking down on the ground with my baby in my arm, and I was crying, and my husband came rushing, and he said, "What's wrong with the baby?" And I was like, "Oh, the baby is okay. I'm not okay." And I started yelling at him, and it was really good for me to actually speak it out loud that I'm not okay and I need help. And I could see like while this self-sacrifice and being so selfless is very noble as moms, but I could see it was really going in an actually dangerous way. And it wasn't like that I couldn't take care of my baby anymore, but it was just going in a direction of just the thought of, oh my God, if I'm not doing well, she won't be doing well. And I really just like a light went on in me. And So I started to look into this, and I found out that there's actually more than just postpartum depression. There's something that's called postnatal depletion. And that's a syndrome that affects 1 out of 2 mothers, it's estimated. And baby colic actually affects 1 out of 4 babies. And that's just the official numbers. And I strongly believe that the unofficial numbers are much higher than that. And because I know it's a hard thing for moms to realize and to talk about. So for me, I just couldn't accept this. Well, just wait it out. This is just normal. I couldn't just keep on watching my baby suffer and not do anything about it to help her. So something in me also didn't believe that it was true, that there's nothing I could do about it. So I wanted to turn things around, and this postnatal depletion, to stop this postpartum depression. And it was a journey, but fast forward, I found out how to help my baby with her colic and sleep, which made all the difference for her and for us. And I found out how to help myself get over postnatal depletion, where I used my postnatal depletion recovery system, which I'm now helping moms with. And postnatal depletion is just something we have to take care of. Like I just had this strong urge to, after my own experience, to share this with moms and tell moms, okay, you don't have to wait it out. You don't have to suck it up. You don't need to wait for things to get worse, but you can actually overcome this, and in way less time than I needed to overcome this.
Wow. You think about, especially because my target audience are families with special needs children, we find it easy sometimes to fight for our children, but you're right, to recognize a need in ourselves so that we can be that stronger advocate for our children. It's important, and that starts from those early days when we are all exhausted. No one can go through that stage and not be exhausted. So it hits all of us at different ways. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about this as we talk more.
And that can be such a good motivation. You're totally right, Tonya, because often we might not speak up for ourselves or ask for help for ourselves, but when it's about a baby, like then we do. And I wasn't really good at this before I became a mother, to ask for help, and I'm still not the best at it. But I did it because it wasn't just for my own sake, but for my children. Yeah.
Right. Welcome to the Water Prairie Chronicles, a podcast created to encourage and support parents of special needs children. I'm Tonya Wallum, and I'm glad you're here. Well, we're going to talk more, but this season I've been asking each of my guests to prepare a little game that we're going to play, and it's called Two Truths and a Lie. If you have not been listening or are not familiar with the game, the guest is sharing 3 facts or pseudo-facts about themselves, and it's our job as listeners to decide which 2 we think are true and which one is a lie. And we'll be posting these on Instagram and Twitter, and we'll post the answer a week after this episode releases. So if you want to try to post your guess out, go to those platforms. You can put it in the notes on the YouTube video and check back a week later to see the answer. So, Christiane, what are your 2 truths and a lie that you'd like to share with us?
So number 1, I live on an acreage in Canada. Number 2, I have a master's in literature, philosophy, and drama. And number 3, I speak Latin fluently. So make sure that you try to see if you can guess what the answers are here, and we will post the final answer in a week after this is posted. But for the reason that we're on the call today, we wanted to talk some more about what we can learn on how to help both the babies and our moms. And so I know a lot of our parents that are listening may have older children, but sometimes they have larger families and they may be back through the stage again. And if not, they can at least help those neighbors and family members who are going into this stage of life that we're talking about. So, Christiane, what are some of the common misconceptions about baby colic? I know what I've kind of heard, but what else is out there that parents may have heard about or been told when they had their children who may have had colic? Yeah. So first of all, colic is a term that people, especially doctors, use when they actually don't know why the baby is crying. So a common definition of colic is when a baby's crying lasts for more than 3 hours a day, happens for more than 3 days a week, and occurs for more than 3 weeks. So that's the definition of colic. It's being defined by the length of a baby's crying. So it's a total misconception that this is just about the hours of the baby's crying, about
right.
that it's normal, that it's harmless, because that's what people are being told, and that it goes away on its own. So these are all misconceptions, because what most often happens is that things rather grow into even bigger problems, which can show in other symptoms such as eczema, ear infections, food sensitivities, or behavior problems / mental health problems. So a big problem here is really the normalization of colic, which leads to that we're not listening to our children's symptoms anymore, because they're being told it's just normal and we should just wait it out. And often the only solution a doctor has to offer is symptom-suppressing meds, suppressing the healthy stomach acid, and to wait it out, which is really not a good idea, because we actually don't get to why the baby's actually crying, like what is the root cause. It's all just being put under the same umbrella. And if we shut down digestion by suppressing our healthy stomach acid, you can imagine that that's not a good idea, especially if we do it like for a long period of time. And that's where so many problems can come from. So we really need to ask the question, why is the baby crying, and what is the baby communicating to us?
Interesting. Now, my experience, my second child, my son, was diagnosed with colic, and it was the case that you're talking about, where changing the formula, it was all digestive issues. That was what we were told, that it was just a matter of maybe he couldn't tolerate one type of milk, he had to have a different type. And it was just pretty much grin and bear it until he got past that stage. And it was a long period of time with a lot, and on my side, a lot of checking on him to make sure that he was dry, fed, safe wherever he was. Nothing was wrapped around his fingers causing any pain, and just letting him cry it out. And that's what we were told to do. So exactly how you've described it is the way that we were told to address it. I spent lots of hours washing dishes in the kitchen so that the water would help soothe my nerves while I'm trying not to hear it quite as loud in the background. Mm-hmm. So, So speaking of that, having them cry it out and, checking on those safety things that you want to check on first, how can a mother differentiate between that normal crying that all babies are going to go through, because that's their first way of communicating, and colic type of crying?
Yeah, good question. First of all, I want to say here that it's really important that mothers actually trust their gut instinct. Like, if they feel there's something not quite right with baby, please investigate. Like, even if others, even health practitioners, say it's normal, because like, you're the expert of your baby, and by the way, you're also the expert of your own body. So it's really important to trust that. And second, not every crying is the same. Like, if it's a sudden intense crying, for example, and baby hasn't been startled or anything like that, it can be a hint of that there's baby's experiencing pain. Or if baby is just inconsolable for the longest time and not even milk or rocking and nothing works, like that's another sign that there's something not quite right. And what we call colic often comes together with other symptoms other than crying. Crying is also just a symptom, really, such as other symptoms could be like a tight tummy, or gas, or when baby does what looks like baby crunches, like just crunching together, or baby making fists, or arching back, or any redness on the skin, or what we call diaper rash. It's not necessarily from diapers. Quite often it's not just from the diapers. Eczema and these kinds of things. And also if there's any odd stool or any hard stool, for example, constipation. So those are also other symptoms. So to see, okay, there's something going on. But again, it's not about determining if it's colic or not, because colic isn't a disease. Like, what we call colic is really just a symptom as well. But it is about listening to our children's messages, and if it's unusual crying or other unusual behavior and other symptoms I just mentioned. So colic is just a symptom, and that, like, crying is attributed to something unknown. So that's how it's basically defined. So what we need to do is really find out, what is that unknown? What is the root cause? And it's really worth investigating for parents. Like, it's, even if you find, okay, it was just something harmless, or it's just actually that, but why risk that baby has disadvantages for the rest of her life because we've overlooked something. And I heard that story like quite often, that moms have been told, oh, this is normal, and then they found out like a year and a half later that it wasn't. And I want to give an example of somebody named Lynn who was given that advice, and she was going through depletion and baby colic and really tried to help her baby, but just could not find out what it is. And doctor said, well, just wait it out. It'll go away. So she really tried to be a hero and tried to push through and tried to push past her depletion. And she even kept on working out with a personal trainer and tried to be so healthy, but she felt like crying when working out. And when her son was already a year and a half old, she found out that there actually was a real reason for her baby's endless crying and a year and a half of sleepless nights. But by then it was too late for Lynn, because she'd reached her breaking point and she ended up with adrenal fatigue and an autoimmune condition that she's still dealing with 8 years later. So moms really like don't just settle with, this is normal, you're a mom now and your baby's crying is normal. Like, if your gut's telling you there's something not quite right, follow that and just look into it. In the worst case, you find out, okay, actually we're okay. But in the best case, like, you find something and you actually are able to take care of it.
So thinking back again for my son, so we've always talked about how he was such an intense baby. And part of it was, a lot of what you describes my son, to the point where we could pick him up underneath his armpit and hold him, and his body would be so tight that he was just ramrod straight. He was just so bunched up with tenseness. And that was during this time that we were told that he had colic. So it makes sense. He also had the eczema and and very sensitive skin. Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of these things are there. So for a young parent that's listening to this, so you're telling them to investigate. Where are they going to investigate? Are they going to the doctor that told them it was colic, or how do they know where to start with this?
Yeah, so I definitely check connections. Like, for example, when they just ate something and then after that they're like altered, like they're crying or they're cranky, or there's all of a sudden the skin's flushing or something like that. And to actually take note, like yourself, because every baby is different. So there's also not just like one or two things you do for colic for everybody. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's about symptoms and looking at, okay, the connection, where it's coming from. And if you have a good doctor that can actually, help you with that, that would be great. But unfortunately, most doctors are simply not trained in that. Not even pediatricians, unfortunately. So it's something we do in like a thorough assessment. It's something I do with my clients, with mom and baby, and we got to look at mom and baby together, like they're like really intertwined. And also, like, we do like a lot of like working over a period of time to work with the body's feedback, because we really gotta see, okay, how does that body work? How does that body likes this? Like, how did this work? And if it doesn't work, we got to fine tune and adjust. So, yeah.
I like the point that you made about keeping notes and just kind of recording what's happening, because then you'll start to see patterns with it. And so I wish I had you when my son was small, because it would have been easier, I think, to at least just to know that some of those concerns that we had. And, was it a feeding issue? Was it an allergy of some sort? The eczema that was already showing up, things like that. Where is that happening? And not being able to really know beyond just being told this was just a normal phase. So I think this is great information that you're providing here. Yeah,
and I wish I could give you like a quick answer here, but it could be like many things. Like food issues can be one problem, especially because baby has such a brand new system, right? Like, it can't just handle things how we can as adults. And like, foods can be one thing, but it's not necessarily always the cause. Like, it could just be one trigger of something else going on in the gut. Like, it could be like microbes, for example, or there could be even toxins in the body easily from food, from sprayed food, comes through the breast milk, from things from formula, things in our environment. So like there's unfortunately not like one quick answer, but just to really actually start asking questions and looking at it and what's actually going on, instead of just labeling it as, oh, this is just colic. We'll just have to wait months and it's going to get better, instead of actually like investigating, if that makes sense.
Right. No, I really like that this is being shared. Now you talked a little bit about your connection with getting started with this, but what inspired you to focus on the link between baby colic and gut health and mental health, the three of those together?
Yeah, definitely my experience with my own daughter, especially with the first one. I have two daughters. The first one is 4 now, the other one is 2. But with my first daughter, when she went through colic, like she was just inconsolable, and it came to a point, like people always told me, oh, it's going to get better, it's going to get better. And like I tried to do all the things, right? We got the family bed, we bought the big mattress, the king mattress. We bought the swivel sleeper so she would be as close as possible to me if I ever want to put her in her own bed. We bought like the, whatever, 4 moms electric swing that would swing her at night. Like nothing worked, nothing. And she woke up like it got worse and worse to a point where she woke up every 45 minutes to nurse. Wow. And she just needed that comfort, and it just drove me crazy. Like I really wanted to do that for her, but I just could not. But when we actually started asking questions and looked into her gut health and started taking care of things, she was a totally different child. Like she was calm, happy. She actually slept. She slept for like at first 3 hours at a time, which was unheard of before, then 5 hours at a time. So it was like so obvious that connection between her emotional and mental well-being and actually that what we call colic or gut health, and actually taking care of the problem. And then again, when she was 2.5, she developed an eczema starting on her private parts, and it looked really bad. Like it was like a burn, and it really hurted her and bothered her. And then it was in her beautiful face, and then eventually it moved to the whole body. And again, I could have just brushed it off as, oh, it's a normal 2-year-old, terrible twos, just going through these emotions, because it came with like extreme emotions. And it was like not that she was never upset before or never had a meltdown before or after, but it just all of a sudden just changed to this extremeness. And when the rash came, so I was like, okay, there must be some connection. But we could have just been like, well, this is normal. They must grow out of eczema. That's what people say. And we'll just slap on some steroids. But we actually, like I actually felt like, okay, there was something for me to listen to, something to do. And we actually took care of it by, number one, by adjusting her nutrition. And again, that's very individual, because, what was right for her might not be right for another baby. So we had to work a lot with the feedback for her. Then number 2, actually cleansing her system gently. And number 3, also taking care of emotional and energetic factors. And again, after that, she was like a totally different child. So it was just so interesting and obvious, that connection. But I actually was already interested in that topic, like when it was about my own health and the connection to my mental health. And it was just, again, so obvious. And also from working with clients for over 10 years, it's just like a very obvious thing. And there are lots and lots of studies on that as well. So yeah, I basically got interested in it because of my own story. And it's good we went through this, because now I can help others with that. So it's all good for something.
Well, the way that you're explaining it, I can see how they all go together, because even if it's just the eczema and nothing else, that's painful where she had it, especially. And so you can only take so much irritation before it starts wearing away your patience as an adult. Even if you have an area that's uncomfortable, your patience is shorter, your temper is shorter. And so thinking of a 2-year-old, even more so, you would see those little outbursts and things too. When I introduced you, I mentioned the term postnatal depletion, and you've mentioned that as well. Many of our new mothers experience exhaustion, but what sets postnatal depletion apart from exhaustion?
Yeah, so postnatal depletion is a syndrome that includes exhaustion, but it's not limited to it. And it has to do with the depletion from pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. And so many moms, they're already depleted as they enter pregnancy. Then they create this baby human from her own resources, even if she doesn't have enough. And nature always favors the baby. Like the placenta actually shoves the nutrients to the baby, even if mom is depleted. And it's a wonderful mechanism because any mom would want that. But it comes at the cost of the mother, who's very often being left depleted. And then childbirth is just this major, transcendental and taxing life event of a woman. And then when she would actually need to rest and recover, then she's taking care of her baby pretty much 24/7. And there's just not enough support for moms in our modern society. And moms often think they should do it alone. And it really doesn't have to be just one or the other. Like, we can actually take care of mom and of baby. So we don't have to completely sacrifice for baby, and it's also not really good for baby. Like, mom needs to be taken care of too. And baby's health is also dependent on mom's health, as we touched upon. So this depletion is something that actually happens physically. It's a real thing. So for example, a mother's brain actually shrinks 5 to 8% during pregnancy. So and this is something we need to take care of and nourish and replete. And it's also postnatal depletion is also a thing that affects mothers mentally and emotionally. So it happens on several levels and affects really all spheres of a mother's life. So it's not just exhaustion, although that's a big part of it. And it's very common. It's not just to new mothers, but all mothers. And often it affects mothers even later. Like, sometimes it's the first child that really takes it out of us, but often it's that things are being compounded as the more children we have. And it's very common, and it can last for a long time. So this advice of, just wait it out, it's gonna be over after whatever 3 months or 6 months, it's in most cases like this can last like 5 to 10 years if we're not taking care of it properly. And also it can turn into other problems. Again, it's just all symptoms, like the body's messages of telling us there's something going on. And if we're not taking care of the body of the person, then the body's going to give us louder and louder messages till we take care. And there's this book by Dr. Gabor Mate, which I studied under as well. It's called When the Body Says No. So like, till we're actually listening to our body saying no, okay, you haven't had enough, you got to take care of yourself. And eventually the body will say no for us. And so many moms end up with adrenal fatigue and autoimmune conditions. It's just very, very common with moms. And the longer we wait, the more difficult it is to repair.
Wow. Yeah, because you're the first person I've talked to that I've ever heard that term before. So that's why I was wondering, how recent is it since they've been talking about this? Is it really recent?
Very recent, yeah, just in the last few years. Although it's not a new thing, although I believe it's more common in modern society than it used to be. But even like we talked to just like a grandma lately, and her aunt was like also being put in a mental institution during postpartum. She just could not handle it. It was too much. So it's not a new thing, but I think just with the modern medical system and how society is just not supporting moms, I think it's actually more and more common. But the term is a new term, and only slowly the medical world is actually putting attention to this. So there are health expert doctors that are like treating this, but it's like it's very hard to find. So that's why I really wanted to specialize on this, because like it took me a long time to find help, and I had to pull it together from so many different angles.
Yeah, well, because you hear postpartum depression when you mention that. That's something that, at least in my lifetime, has been tossed around. You hear of that quite often, but this is not the same thing.
Exactly.
Though it sounds like that could be part of this, but not
exactly
not the full piece.
Like, I would say postpartum depression is actually part of postnatal depletion. And like when I went through this, I was so glad to find out about this, because I was like, well, either it's postpartum depression or not. So either we're okay or we're totally depressed, postpartum depressed, but that there's so many stages in between that moms can be like a little bit depleted, they can be severely depleted. It can address more those and those levels for this mom, and for another mom it's more different levels and expresses itself in different ways. So yeah, it's really good for moms to see, okay, there's actually a real thing going on with me. It's a real health condition, and there's something I can do about this, and there's help. So I don't just have to suck it up as a mom because this is what it's like being a mom, and that's what moms are being told, unfortunately.
Right. Well, I'm thinking too of how many moms I know. I mean, I even had with my first toxemia going into the delivery. So for the last month, my body was fighting its own health with trying to carry my child at the same time. So now I'm trying to care for her internally, trying to care for myself. So I didn't hit the delivery stage at the optimum health level that it could have been.
Yeah.
You know, and how many others have had medical issues that they're facing that may have jeopardized the pregnancy, so they're having to go on bed rest, things like that. So they're already going in depleted before they even go to the delivery itself.
Yeah.
And then as you say, you know, you've pretty much the baby's here. Surprise! You're taking care of this baby 24 hours a day now, and there's no time to even think about yourself anymore.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not surprising that this is it, but I'm glad that modern day medicine at least is recognizing that there's something there, and I'm thinking of how much stronger our moms can be now by having the opportunity to be able to address these needs and to not feel bad about saying, I need help. I'm not feeling right now. Something needs to change to make me a better mom.
Yeah, I think it's really something we need to spread the word and the awareness, because most moms still feel guilty to actually take care of just their basic needs even, and actually like take some time to take care of the body, and what's often just recommended is just like a standard diet for mothers, and okay, jump right back into exercise, but right. Actually we gotta take care of this syndrome. We gotta take care of the body and replenish everything a mom on all those levels, and not just nutrition. But it's something that's not well known, and I'm feeling very passionate about spreading this, because it made like all the difference in my life and now in the women I'm working with, just knowing this.
The other thing I'm thinking of too is how many, just because my kids are older now, you know, you meet other moms who are younger, and you always want to give them advice or just share things that you learned on your journey. It's kind of what Water Prayer is all about, as far as trying to help share our journeys with each other. But but how many moms I meet who are young and are at the stage where their child's not sleeping through the night yet, and you know, whenever you ask, you know, are you finding ways to rest whenever your child is sleeping, they always say, you know, no, the house needs to be cleaned. I need to do this. That's my time for me to do the things that I want to do. And I understand that, but I don't know if they recognize that their body needs that rest, so that they can't, you know, it's such a short time. The things that they want to do will be there in a few months whenever their child is sleeping through the night, and they can get a good night's sleep too. But it is hard, especially a first-time mom, because, you know, you still want to do things. You still want to be able to talk on the phone with your friend, or to have somebody over when it's just you. But you're doing that at the expense of taking care of yourself too during that time.
Yeah, and it's something so common, and I definitely did that with my first daughter. Not anymore with my second. I learned something. Right. I knew better than. But I think there's the subconscious pressure that we put on ourselves, so that's maybe also expected from society to bounce back as soon as possible.
Right.
Well, first of all, there is really no bouncing back. Like, everything's different after birth. Like, we're different. We're like went through like a major initiation, and we're not meant to be how we were before birth. The subconscious pressure of like, okay, I gotta get back on my feet as much as like as soon as possible, and all of that. So, and that's what we're being told, and that we're being taught. So, I think it's really important to share that with moms, because like I remember I could not even accept that from a friend who actually came over and said, well, I'll be with your baby for an hour, you take a nap, and
while you sleep,
just
right?
not do it at that time. I first of all, I was too worried about baby, and I just felt so responsible and so guilty for lying down, and I could have not slept anyways. So the second baby I could. So
yeah, I was the same way. It was with the first. It was like I wanted that companionship with my friend. So I didn't want to go sleep because I wanted to visit with her too. so it, and that's part of it too, because you've been in isolation for a little while, so you're ready for friendships. But
and that can
maybe
be
have them
beneficial
come
too. Yeah,
it can. But you need both. You do need your rest too.
Definitely.
So we talked a little bit about the mental health side of it. So and I think there's extremes that everyone can understand of how a mother's mental health can impact the baby's health. But I don't think what you're talking about is the extremes of mental health. I think you're talking about just the mother's basic mental health and how that can affect the baby. Can you explain that a little bit more for me?
So it can be extreme, or can be not extreme, really. But babies really sense their mother's energy and state, and if the mother is not doing well, then the baby definitely gets affected by it, like more than we think. So even if the mother doesn't want that, of course, and of course is really trying to protect her baby, it can still happen. For example, when a mother is just being sad and depressed, even if she's trying to hide it, the baby will notice that and will definitely influence the baby's nervous system, because the nervous systems are so tied together. Like they were just one, like till baby came out. Like they were one for the longest time, and so they're still kind of a little bit like one. And definitely also when the mother is stressed or angry, and that's for both of the parents. It will affect the baby, because the environment we're in affects us, and even still when we're in the womb, it does affect us. And children easily take on their parents' burdens to a degree. And it's very well known how our emotions affect our physical and mental health. And they can even have a stronger effect on us than the kind of diet we eat. And same with babies. And I'm aware of that. This is a highly sensitive topic, and I don't want to scare any parent here. And I just want to mention here that really none of us had a perfect childhood, and some difficulties also good for our evolution. However, there is help, and there are things we can do to help the mother and therefore the child, and vice versa. So we really don't have to settle here by just waiting it out and sucking it up, basically. And we really need to take care of mom and baby in tandem together. So quite often I see that, like they say, baby has colic, and now maybe we'll cut out these 5 foods, and that's it. Instead of actually looking at, okay, what's going on for the mom, or is she breastfeeding, or what's going on energetically, or vice versa. Like, mom having a hard time with anxiety or with sleep, for example, then we'll just give her some anxiety pills or sleeping pills, instead of taking care of, if the baby's crying all night, like no wonder the mom has like anxiety and can't sleep. So we really got to look at this unit together, mama and baby. So that's something I've learned to really treat both of them together. And it's, as we just touched upon earlier, it's so important that a mother really takes time for herself. And I know this can be the most difficult thing for moms. It has been for me, and still somehow is. However, it's just so crucial, not just for the mom, but for everyone in the family. Because like the mother is just like one of the most important parts in the family. And that happened to be this person or that person. But it doesn't mean that person is now, I don't know, better or get something special, but it's just like that's how the family unit works. The mother needs this kind of a care, and that will affect everybody. And if the mother's doing better, then she can also take care better of everybody. But what's quite common is that moms just wait till they break down until they really allow to take care of themselves. And even just like a couple of minutes of hiding in the bathroom to do like a short reset and reconnect with ourselves of like what's actually going on, like what am I feeling, can be super helpful, because we're being told to just bottle things up and push through, but we're never like actually looking at what's going on. Or when the kids are sleeping or playing, if the kid doesn't have naps anymore, you can also like lie down next to your child and actually close your eyes if you know they're safe for as much as possible, and just like actually rest rather than trying to catch up on the laundry. And it's really good for a child also to see when the mother takes care of herself. Like that's how they learn that, and a mother that actually has some boundaries. Like children really need that from us. They don't want us to destroy ourselves for them. And that's what we often think. And they will learn to do the same in life if they see us actually taking care of ourselves. And there are techniques we can do that are more powerful even than naps that only take a few minutes, because I know mothers don't have time. They're being interrupted all the time. So there are things that mothers can do that are actually many more times recharging. So taking care of the nervous system, to which everything else is tied to in the body, is just like so crucial, and an important aspect of what we need to do to help mothers balance their nervous system and give them practical tools so they can do this on their own. So for the sake of baby and mom, because it's so tied together, the two most important things for moms I recommend here is really to take time for themselves and do whatever works best for you to improve your state, whatever you need to do. And that can be even a few minutes here and there, like even a few minutes stretching here and there, for example, even if you don't make it to the hour-and-a-half yoga class. But that's something I really had to learn, that it's not all or nothing. And we just have to be a little more creative, like just to change the energy in the body. And that'll also help our children. And then number 2 is to get support. We all need someone to talk to, and someone that can help us get back up on our feet when things are overbearing. And I know this can be a real challenge for moms to ask for help and do something for ourselves, spend money for ourselves. And I've been there, and I found really only when I opened up to other moms and I was vulnerable with the challenges I was going through, all of a sudden they opened up to me, and almost everybody had a very similar story, and I didn't even think that of that person. Like you don't always see that from the outside. But then when you become vulnerable, all of a sudden others are vulnerable too, and you see how many people are dealing with this. And going a little bit off topic here, but
no, you're fine. This is good.
Okay, I just wanted to say, really want to remind moms that if it's difficult for you to take time or spend money for yourself to get help, it's not just about you, because your well-being is the well-being of your baby and the rest of your family. And when you thrive, your family thrives too.
What are some common symptoms that mothers experience with postnatal depletion?
Yeah, so the most obvious one would be severe fatigue. And when you wonder, okay, what does that mean? So if in the last 2 weeks you would rate your fatigue on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being, let's say, zombie-like, super fatigue, if you would rate your fatigue from a 6 to 10 over the last 2 weeks. Also, if you're tired even after a good night's sleep, that's definitely a symptom. Brain fog, aka baby brain or mom brain. Mm-hmm. And if you're forgetful, you just can't think. Hypervigilance coupled with unease or anxiety, if you just can't relax and you're just on constant alert. A sense of guilt or shame around the role of being a mother. So if you feel like you're doing everything wrong, feel guilty for taking some time for yourself. What's also quite common is loss of self-esteem. So when you felt like you were capable, confident, and ambitious before you had baby, and then everything changed and you turn into this anxious, unmotivated, unsocial person that just wants to hide at home. So that's what moms quite often experience as well. Another symptom would be when they're feeling overwhelmed and are unable to cope, and they're like either losing it or tuning out on a regular basis. Also aches and pains in the body that are new, that haven't been there before baby, digestive issues that have worsened since baby, and also health conditions, new health conditions that showed up in pregnancy or postpartum. And another symptom would be loss of libido. And also if it has been a while, if it's been like 1, 3, or 5 years since your last childbirth and you're still feeling like you've never recovered. So it's sometimes a little bit hard to pinpoint postnatal depletion because it's a syndrome, not a disease. But I have a postnatal depletion test, and I can share later where people can find that, so moms can just take that online and check.
Excellent. So before we wrap this up, what are some advice or some tips that you would give to new mothers who are struggling with exhaustion and postnatal depletion?
Yeah. So one thing is nutrition, just to really look at nutrition and not follow any general nutrition advice that's from the internet. And also to not just kind of go into dieting or looking at calories and just looking at calories. And yeah, we do need more calories when we breastfeed, but it's really about the quality of the nutrients. So we want to get nutrient-dense foods that are easy to digest, because digestion really suffers in pregnancy and through childbirth. Like hormones also really throw that out of balance. And also high-fat meals, so don't skim out on fats. So pressure-cooked meals would be really great for depleted mothers. And to not follow any one-size-fits-all approach, but again, to listen to your body of what you need. So for example, if you don't feel like eating any cold foods from the fridge, that makes a lot of sense, because it's really good to have warming foods that support digestion at that time. And what happens is that mothers just often like follow these fat diets, which are not suited for recovering and depleted mothers, and they're definitely also not tailored to the individual. So now looking at exercise, what I want to say here is like similar advice to not follow like just the standard exercise regime of, okay, the doctor said after 6 weeks you're good to go. That doesn't mean like, okay, now you can do everything you did before, because you're not really good to go, because the tissues are still healing, and tissues are very, very soft still from the hormones. So exercise is important, but it's important to not do anything that's too much, because it can be really harmful if it's too early or too intense. And so many mothers are struggling with diastasis recti, which is separation of the abdominal wall, or pelvic floor issues. So we really gotta even look into specific exercises for that. So again, listen to your body. And also what I want to say here is for moms to really pay attention to the emotional state, because it's not just, postnatal depletion isn't just on the level of nutrition, but it's really about like it's on 7 levels. So one of it is really emotional, energetic. So we got to look at, for example, at birth traumas, possibilities of birth trauma, which is quite common, or traumas often come up for moms, their own traumas from childhood or something, once they have their own babies. It's very interesting. And you want to check in how well you handle stress, for example. And if you don't handle stress well, it's not, there's nothing wrong with you. It's actually a symptom, again, of, okay, something we need to take care of. So, and I also want to say, like, while supplements can be important, we really cannot take care of postnatal depletion just with supplements alone. And I know it's suggested online, but it's really a syndrome that happens on so many different levels, and it's a really important aspect to actually look at energetic blocks of healing, for example, nervous system, underlying beliefs, and so on. So like, well, I can't explain it maybe within like a quick minute, but what I want to say here for moms is to just look at what's going on, like when they feel an emotion, to just develop some awareness of something's going on here, maybe some patterns, and to not just like bottle it up, but feel it, hold space for it, be kind to yourself, and that it's nothing bad, but that eventually we just get to discern that this is not really who we are, but it's just an influence. And while it can be extremely uncomfortable to feel, it's really not bigger than us, and it's part of the work I do with my moms. So we'll go deeper into all of that if moms are interested in learning that.
Excellent. And because some of our listeners may not be future moms or moms who have just gone through this experience, they may be a neighbor or a friend or a family member of someone who is at this stage of life. Do you have any suggestions for them of how they can support that young mom, or even if it's in the first few years, as you're saying, it could be more than just right after childbirth, but how they can help support that?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely to keep on reaching out to that mom, because a mom might just say, no, I'm like, if you just ask, how are you? Like, just let me know when you need something. It's very unlikely that mom's going to say, oh, and I'm not doing okay. And I'm actually going to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need some help. Like, it's very unlikely. So it's really important to actually keep on reaching out or just showing up, just maybe bringing some food by, put it by the doorstep, and actually ask the mom what's the right food. Because I remember in the beginning I was too polite to turn on any food, and then I couldn't eat it because my baby was reacting to certain foods, so I had to give it to my husband. So like, people really like knowing how a mom needs to be supported. So just even if a mom feels shy to tell you, just like ask the mom. So food is always a really good idea, or coming by and actually not just coming for a visit, but actually come pick up some dishes and like do it in a sensitive way so mom doesn't feel bad about it. Like, just super natural. Or pick up the baby so the mom is comfortable with that, so the mom can have a shower or lie down. And like, what I found really helpful is actually to put a sign on the door for the mom that can be written like midwife's notice, of like with some guidelines for visitors, especially if mom just has given birth a few weeks ago, with some rules of like, whatever, on your way out, like pick up some garbage, or like wash some dishes and wash your hands before you come. All these things that moms might be shy to say that, but to actually help her protect her cave, hold her space, and help with some people that might not know how to do it properly. And maybe one more tip is like, while it's nice to give baby gifts as a gift, like whatever, new jumpers or toys, but like, the baby's okay because the mom's taking care of baby perfectly, but like, help the mom. And what's a really good idea is actually just collect some money, or to start like a fundraiser or something, just everybody gives a little bit, so that the mom can actually get the support she needs for some self-care. I think that's like a really, really good gift.
Nice. I like that. Thank you. So we've talked about a lot of different things, and some of our listeners are going to be in your area or close enough to be able to work with you. If someone wanted to join one of your groups or to work with you, how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so my website is heartfood.com. That's HEART-FOOD.com. So they can read a little bit about everything and join my free Facebook group from there, and write me from there. And also they can follow me on social media, for example, on Instagram. My handle would be Heartfood Holistic. I think Instagram is one of the most popular aside from Facebook. So yeah, don't feel shy to reach out, and there are no stupid questions. Yeah.
Well, good. We'll put those links in the show notes. So whether you're listening to the audio or on the website or watching the video, look where the notes are, and you'll be able to see those links to be able to see what she's doing on her website and to get in touch with her if you need to. So what else do you have going on? So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with the Facebook group and things like that.
Yeah, so I opened a free Facebook group to support moms that are going through this, and like a place where also they can meet and support each other and help each other. Usually moms are at different stages, so it's really good to get together and to see, okay, we're not the only one going through this, and there is help, and other moms made it through. And if moms want more one-on-one support and also more group support, I'm focusing currently on what I call postnatal depletion recovery, which is a 12-week transformation for moms, I call it from zombie to goddess. And at the same time, we're taking care of baby's distress, so it's for moms and babies, and really look at, okay, what's going on at underlying root causes. And we also include the other kids usually in that, and even the husbands quite often, so really the whole family is taken care of here. And it's really not just about managing symptoms, or it's not at all about managing symptoms or trying to just do some coping strategies, but we're actually taking care of what's going on with moms and babies. And yeah, as I said, it's completely tailored to mom and baby and individual pace and needs. So for moms that are looking for that close support, this is for them. So they can just check out the Facebook group. It's through my webpage you can get there, or it's on Facebook, Facebook groups Postnatal Depletion. And I also offer free 60-minute calls for moms, call them Conquer Fatigue calls. that are totally free. So just to see what's going on for moms and see if it's maybe a good fit. Look at the baby's symptoms, and moms can apply for that on the website or from within the Facebook group.
Great, great. Well, Christiane, thank you so much for sharing with us today. This is a totally new topic for me, even though I experienced a lot of what you've described. Had no idea what that was, and I know how much it would have helped me, and I can only imagine how many that are listening, whether they go through it themselves or have someone that they know that they can pass on this information to help get them the support that they need. So thank you for sharing this with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tonya. My pleasure, yeah.
Hey there, Water Prairie listeners. If you're enjoying this show and want to support us, please consider making a donation at buymeacoffee.com/waterprairie. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you great content week after week. Thanks for listening and for your support.
I hope you found our discussion with Christiane insightful and informative. If you're a new mother struggling with postnatal depletion, remember that you're not alone and there is help available. Be sure to check out Christiane's resources and practical tips that she shared today and take the first step towards improving your health and well-being. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, keep taking care of yourself and your loved ones.